Call Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And it's a pleasure to stand and take a call on the Statutes Amendment Bill. And, Mr Speaker, I understand as a new member, like in fact the last two speakers on this bill, that the Statutes Bill, such as this, are to make small corrections to non-controversial corrections to existing legislation. And so it's interesting that in the debates on the legislation bill that we've had, admittedly not this one, is that there is provision there for not only review of legislations but for technical corrections to legislation. But the important thing about this bill, sir, is that it very much here in the last dying moments of lawmaking for this, or the lawmaking part of this Parliament at this time of the year, is that we are dealing with a bill that very much sums up where this government is at. These might be small technical amendments to existing legislation, but let's look at them. Given all the issues in front of New Zealand today, issues about joblessness, people searching, craving for work at this very difficult time, and as the season of goodwill and joy is upon us, we have legislation that does not deal with the issues that New Zealanders want. And that's why this bill sums up really the year that this government has had and where this government is at. People desperate for work, people desperate to get an increase in their pay. Those are in work. 60% of them can't even get a pay rise this year, and they want that. And what do we see here? We see nothing in the Statutes Amendment Bill that will perform small technical amendments that will allow that to happen. And we have people who are suffering the inequities of inequality. We had my colleague Leanne Dasdale talked about the unfairness, the ongoing unfairness and desperation of people in Christchurch. And what do we find in the Statutes Amendment Bill, sir, for that? Absolutely nothing. We see the Accident Compensation Act, small technical amendments to the Accident Compensation Act. Do we see anything that's going to improve the privacy management and privacy protection of claimants to ACC? None at all. None at all. And those issues are going begging. We've had a grand high report from Australians coming once again right to the rescue to tell us how to improve our privacy management in ACC. But is there anything in this bill that will help the long-suffering ACC claimants whose privacy has been breached? Nothing at all, sir. Nothing at all. And what about protecting ACC claimants against bad decision-making, sir? A small technical amendment that would help? Nothing at all in this bill about that. What about in the Companies Act? What about where do we see a need for amendment in the Companies Act? What about making directors liable for poor management decisions? Just extend the directors' duties slightly, a little bit in the Companies Act. Do we see anything in this legislation that does that? Absolutely nothing at all. When we have a look at the District Courts Act, what is the crying need in the District Courts? It's for more resources so that decisions can get made. It's good that the High Court can make decisions reasonably swiftly. For example, in the Salisbury School decision, it's good that the High Court can make those decisions because they got good, smart judges who can make good, swift decisions on these very important issues, and that the parents of those very needy, very important kids at Salisbury School now can enter the Christmas break relieved and with a sense of justice having been done. But is there anything in this legislation that helps the District Court rise to its proper level of functioning and do that? Nothing here at all. What about the electorate, the amendment to the Electoral Act? Is it going to close off the difficulty that our colleague, the parliamentary colleague, the Honourable John Banks, has been having in his disclosures? Nothing at all. Nothing at all in that. But these are the issues that New Zealanders will go into the Christmas break talking about, and they will go into the Christmas break with the last piece of legislation considered by this House that will do nothing at all for it. So I call this the Gangnam-style government. It's the Gangnam-style government. It's the zeitgeist. It's the spirit of the times. This is a government that is riding the invisible horse of law-making and policy-making. I'll give you a demonstration. This is the government that is riding the invisible horse that has nothing to do that is going to help New Zealanders. I'd give the other one, but I don't know what that dance style is. This is a government that is all hat and no horse. It's the Gangnam-style government. It is riding the invisible horse. It talks big. It talks about making a big difference, and we'll see this afternoon all the wonderful messages that it will give to New Zealand as we enter the Christmas break. But will it make a tinker's cuss of difference to New Zealanders as they gather around the barbecues, can't afford can't afford the steak on the barbecues this year. It'll be cheap snarlers from the supermarket this summer's barbecues, because people can't afford much. But they'll be saying, this is a government that is riding the invisible horse of decision-making and policy-making, because they don't have a policy, they don't have a plan, they don't have a plan that's going to fix things. They'll come to the House in the dying days of lawmaking, dying minutes and hours of lawmaking this side of Christmas, and they'll make small technical amendments, but are we going to do anything that's going to actually make a difference to New Zealanders? No. We'll go into the Christmas season. We will go into the Christmas season making changes to the Insolvency Act, but are we going to protect small creditors? No, we're not going to do anything like that. Look at the Private Security Personnel and Private Investigators Act. What was the big injustice a couple of weeks ago? Poor old Sir Peter Jackson, hero of a nation, just make the Hobbit, and the security guard detailed to protect him was a convicted criminal. And is there anything in this legislation that's going to fix that? Not at all. The hero of the nation, subject to the whims of a convicted criminal, because our legislation doesn't provide enough protection to him for it. The only justice, the only thing that is just and right and that is fitting in the zeitgeist of the times, apart from the government of the invisible horse, apart from a government that's all hat and no horse, apart from the government that is Gangnam style by governance, is the very last piece of legislation, the Statutes Amendment Bill, and that is the Wine Act. And it'll be right for Christmas. What a pity is that there's not a technical amendment that allows provision of enough wine for all New Zealanders who are celebrating this season, wondering what it is that's hit them, wondering what sort of government they've got that isn't interested in dealing with the big decisions and making the big calls that's going to really make a difference. This will be a bill that people will look to and say it's time to drown our sorrows. And so the Wine Act, the amendment to the Wine Act 2003 is in every bit fitting in that regard too. But we will leave our lawmaking duties this side of Christmas, again, disappointed, left feeling flat, that the big issues that confront this country and the people in it have gone left unaddressed and unattended. And that's the disappointing thing about this. And so that's why as I rise to make this call on this piece of legislation, I look forward, hopefully, like the rest of us, certainly on this side of the House, to a year next year in which we can get to grips with the real issues. Not just the anti-money laundering and countering financing of terrorism amendment, technical amendment in this bill, but real changes that are going to make a real difference, that are going to give people a helping hand, that are going to give people a hand up, that are going to give people a chance to make a difference, to improve their incomes, to improve their lot, to provide for their families and their loved ones, and a true spirit of giving and Christmas joy. That's what we needed at this time, to leave our lawmaking duties this side of Christmas in a spirit of hope, with a sense that we could do something meaningful and real. But this legislation, this bill, is not that bill. It absolutely sums up this government. The government that speaks big, that says that it's riding us on a white steed of prosperity and a brighter future, but actually it's an invisible horse. This government, while its hands are on the reins, is going to lead us nowhere, and that's why we need a change. We're 2 years out from it, and this bill absolutely encapsulates the spirit of the nation today.
Call Louise Upston.